Inside America's election headquarters now and looking at the fallout from a crucial debate. Rick Santorum taking center stage for the first time last night, attracting most of the attacks in Arizona. He's basking in the glow of his new frontrunner status. But did the debate change anything in the race for the Republican nomination? Let's talk about it with David Hawkings, editor of the CQ Roll Call Daily Briefing. So what about it? Did it change anything?
I think it changed anything for a little bit for the worse for Rick Santorum. I think that he had some opportunities to really solidify himself as the conservative of choice, and he kind of missed it.
Being the center square wasn't necessarily helpful.
Well, it wasn't helpful because he was the focus of all the attention, so everything he said got his attention. The attention was magnified. You look back just a few debates ago, there were, what, 20 of them now? Look back to debate number 13 when he was on the fringe. People didn't pay attention to every word that he said. This time, every word that he said mattered. When he said that quote about politics is a team sport and you had to take one for the team, and when he voted for the President Bush's education bill, bad move for him, didn't look good, didn't score any points with conservatives at all.
Right. Conservatives seem to be looking for somebody who is sort of an outsider, somebody who's ready to change the way Washington does business, and in many of his responses he basically seemed to affirm that he was part of the Washington establishment.
Right. I mean, he was talking a language about committee meetings and appropriations and this sort of Washington speak, which I, as somebody who covers Washington, I understood. I'm probably in a very, very tiny minority of people who did understand it. It sort of made sense factually, but in terms of his messaging, I think it really just reinforced this notion that he has spent his time as a senator.
Well, and in some of the earlier debates, he was essentially ignored by the other competitors, but this time around, when he is the front runner, he took heat from all of them.
He definitely did. He was boxed in, right? He had Romney on the one side, and he had Romney's new wingman, Ron Paul, on the other side, who got the sort of the laugh of the night with the "because he is a fake" soundbite, which I'm sure you've played. And it seems as though, for whatever reason, Romney and Paul are in sort of an alliance to try and squeeze Santorum out.
So was it a good night for Mitt Romney in your view?
Solid night for Mitt Romney, in my view. I think the expectations, in a strange way, weren't quite as intense on Mitt Romney. He didn't really have a moment that owned the night, but he did have several points at which he definitely stayed on message. At the end, you'll remember he said, you guys get to ask the questions, I get to give the answers that I want. He was very rigorous on message. He seems to be very comfortable with this notion that maybe people will think he's the robotic Mitt Romney, but he's going to do what Debate Prep 101 tells you to do, which is just say what you want to say.
Well, Newt Gingrich almost always does well in the debates. How would you assess his performance?
You know, I have to say, when he threw his arm over the back of the chair and kind of looked like Professor Gingrich, it almost looked like he was more the observer than the participant in the debate, like he was almost one of the panelists. He had some very clever lines. He is still sort of the debate champion, but he sort of seemed to put himself outside the mix a little bit more than I would have expected.
So these debates often portend, a shakeup in the way these candidates are positioned, in the polling. Newt Gingrich would do well, and then after a debate maybe fall off a little bit. Would you expect to see that as a result of what happened last night?
I would expect to see Gingrich come up a little bit. I would expect to see Romney do fine, and it seems as if the debate performance last night is any indication Santorum's momentum may get slowed.
David Hawkings from CQ Roll Call Daily Briefing.
Thanks
David,
a lot.
thank you.